Good evening, everyone. My name is Mally Rosado, and I'm the Council President for the Court of Common Council for the City of Hartford. I'm calling to order this regularly scheduled public comment meeting of April 12th, 2021. With me this evening are Councilwoman Marilyn Rossetti and Councilman Josh Mixtum. We also have David Grant, who works with the Council President's Office, and Catherine, I apologize, I don't have her last name, who will serve this evening as our translator for Spanish and English. Public comment shall be conducted in accordance with the following procedures. Each person wishing to address the council or committee thereof shall, upon recognition by the presiding officer, give his or her name, address, and if he or she represents a group, in addition, state that for the record, the name and address of said group or organization, and shall limit his or her remarks to 3 minutes. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any individual member. Any person making personal impertinence or slanderous remarks or who becomes boisterous while addressing the council shall be forthwith barred by the presiding officer from further audience at said meeting unless permission to remain is granted by a 2/3 votes of the council members present and voting. During public comment, there shall be no debate by the council, although questions may be asked by council of persons making such presentation. For members of the community, please be advised that this meeting is broadcast and recorded by Hartford Public Access Television and can be viewed via Hartford Public Access TV Facebook page, Comcast Xfinity Channel 96, or at www.hpa-tv.org or channel 6032 for Frontier customers. Spanish interpretation is provided through a partner with the City of Hartford and Hartford Public Library. Additional accommodations can be made available with enough notice to my office. And we have Councilman LeBron, who is joining us. Thank you for joining us this evening. Apologies in advance for our other council members who some of them are on a much needed vacation. With that said, our first speaker this evening is Denise Walters. Denise, you have the floor. If you could unmute yourself, Denise.
Okay, sorry. Hi, good night. My name is Denise Walters again, and thank you for having me here tonight. So currently I'm in a nursing home, and I see that we have a lot of issues in a nursing home. One of our biggest issue is the staffing, and I'm not sure what the right now we have staffing issues as far as I think that there's not enough staff to accommodate to help the patients that's here. And at times that leads to patients being provoked or they become irate and their behavior becomes unacceptable, but it's because of the conditioning. And for example, you might have a nurse, CNA staff that has to do a one-on-one with one patient, but yes, she has 10 other beds that she has to take care of other patients. And with a one-on-one, you're not to leave that one-on-one by themselves. So I think that's some of the issues that they need to address. And then because when you have the staffing issues and things like that, sometimes it leads to the poor quality of treatment and of services provided in the nursing home. And some of the other issues are, that causes them to be slow to respond to the calls. If a patient is in need, it's impossible for one person to be in 10 places at one time. And so this is my first time here in a nursing home. I worked as a CNA, but I worked in assisted living, and it's quite different from being in a nursing home. And also the food quality, to me, I feel like that they can make a better choice for diabetics. They might not think for a regular person who's on a regular diet compared to a person who's on a that's diabetic. So just addressing like the food quality, the staffing issues, the lack of the social interaction, So sometimes because of your job environment, if it's not a joyous one or empowering one, it could lead to your attitude. Like they say, when you first walk in the door, the receptionist lead that gateway for on the perception of how the facility is run, which we have a great receptionist, but for some reason it just doesn't seem like a lot of people coming here like they're not happy or something. I'm like, put a smile on your face, what I'm saying? Because a smile on your face could go a long way to another patient, and uplifting and motivating someone else. And so basically those are my complaints. The slow response to calls and the staffing issue, not having enough staff. So you might have one nurse on one side and you have two nurses on another side, and they might have a floater, then they have to call somebody over. I just find that it's painful. And then it's just so many issues inside of a nursing home. And this is considered to be a 5-star. And they say this is 5-star. And I'm like thinking about all the other nursing homes that are not providing good service. Yes.
Okay, so your 3 minutes are up, but I'm going to have David Grant reach out to you and we can have a conversation offline regarding your concerns with this nursing home, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Next to speak is Mr. Will Moffett. Mr. Will Moffett, you have the floor. If you could unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. I just first want to say my heart goes out to the families of the 3-year-old and the 16-year-old who were killed in Hartford over the weekend, and just for the community at large. While it wasn't under circumstances nearly as tragic, I myself lost my own father a few weeks ago. In many ways, all related to the same kind of urban decay we're experiencing. So Hartford is a city of perpetual grieving, unfortunately. And it's always hard to build things when people are always stuck in that trauma. So I also want to give my best wishes to all the council people here. I know even on a good day, it's very hard. So I'm sure this Monday especially must be very tough for you. And I don't like the kind of people who come out after tragedies like this, trying to be opportunistic and put blame. You can't blame one person. You can't blame politics for tragedies like these. But with that in mind, though, I was a little upset today. I saw in the Fox 61, Chief Jason Thody is quoted. He says, this is his quote, "So I think we saw it grow. We saw some more involvement from the community, especially in the last couple of years. But I'd be lying if I didn't say George Floyd and the ramifications of that did polarize some people when it came to talking with police." That's grotesque cognitive dissonance. It is Jason Thody and his actions and lack of actions which cause an innate distrust with the police, which unfortunately make very tragic events like these very difficult. And many people see events like these as a call for more police, which is very reckless. We saw a few weeks back, and I don't want it to get lost in the shuffle, but I know it will, that Sergeant James Guzzi punched a Black woman while in holding in the building of Hartford Police. So this was on March 15th when he assaulted her. It was so bad that officers had to pull him off. I've been hearing rumors that officers are talking about leaving because that's how bad it was. Many of you know the name James Guzzi because me and many other people a few years ago brought him up in front of council meetings, and we said, James Guzzi, you've just been arrested twice for beating up his wife. This is a cop we can't trust on the force. Remember, that was when people were saying how Hartford Police wasn't safe for women, and how James Guzzi has a record. In 2008, he's busted attacking someone from behind with a Glock, and this man's promoted to sergeant. When again and again, the community has shown distrust in people like that, and it is a disservice to, again, I'll say this, I think 85% of the officers in Hartford Police are probably good people trying to do the right thing, but there's bad men in that building. There were rapists, there were wife beaters, there were abusers who are being protected. So when I see Jason Thody come out and talk about, oh, it's George Floyd, that is a disservice to all of the people in the streets of Hartford who have been brutalized by police, all the victims of police brutality within this state. So I know it's hard, but what we saw this weekend is a taste to come. I don't want to be doom and gloom, but this is a summer, particularly after a year of COVID and all these mental health issues. it's going to be disastrous. And the community, my heart goes out to them. It's going to be hard, but I can't see how it can move forward when we have people in command like this that are so blind to their own culture of gangland tactics.
Mr. Moffett?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, but I have to be respectful of everyone, and your 3 minutes are up. Thank you for your comments. I do want to acknowledge that Councilwoman Wildelise Bermudez has joined us. Next to speak is Ms. Alyssa Peterson. You have the floor.
Good evening, council members. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Alyssa Peterson, Grandview Terrace. I echo Mr. Moffat's comments. What a sad weekend for Hartford and the families that lost children to gun violence on streets with names that are all too familiar. Nelson, Mather, Westland. These street names don't change, just those perpetrating the latest gun violence and assaults. I don't know what angers me more, having to watch the perpetual anguish of community members playing out on television or another useless Luke Bronin press conference. Useless because Mr. Bronin is now in his 6th year as mayor, and Hartford looks and feels twice as worse than when he repeatedly attacked Pedro Segarra in political literature to get elected. I'll send them over as a reminder for you. And like Bronin, several council members are also in their 6th year. Some of you too own Hartford's worst problems with him. In the past mayoral administrations of Saxon Perry, Peters, and Perez, however, there have been 5 council people who forged new relationships at varying times of crisis in order to oversee troubled management or failure of a mayor. That is council's role, executive and administrative oversight. 5 of you need to lay down your swords, shrug off stupid disagreements, and come together to get things done for our city. Luke Bronin has been a disaster for Hartford, all except for downtown commercial real estate. 5 of you council members without problems of your own need to help Hartford move on beyond the failures of the current administration. Mr. Bronin most recently gutted police contracts so badly that Hartford embarrassingly pays the lowest for the most dangerous work in the region, and we've been hemorrhaging cops for 2 years. Our neighborhood school buildings are emptying out, thereby ruining the future hope of healthy neighborhoods with healthy local schools. But hey, we have a sustainability director. Meanwhile, our neighborhoods are no longer safe or sustainable. We need greater focus on zoning and public health enforcement, not sustainability. The South End is rife with bars and clubs operating without liquor permits or licenses. Food trucks clog our streets, and some badly operated bodegas and barbershops have long been known as a source of illegal liquor and pill sales, gambling, and prostitution. Again, I implore you, 5 council members need to step forward and get Hartford out of this most dangerous and unsafe period that we haven't experienced in a long time in this city. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Next to speak is Victoria Fennell. If you could unmute yourself, you have the floor.
Okay, yeah, I had to learn how to do this. Good evening, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to address you tonight. I think I'm going to talk about some things that we already know about. Hartford being a poor city, one of the poorest in the country, amidst a very wealthy state. I think the violence that we see, that we've seen and we continue to see, can be traced to one core problem, and that's actually 2. It's poverty and the lack of opportunities for city residents. So how long are we going to watch our city, which is like a patient who's dying on an operating table, putting Band-Aids on a situation that really requires a trauma team of surgeons? I think the city council has to get ahead of this, and I think you have to be willing to use the power that you have to change the narrative that things are not all right in Hartford and haven't been for a long time. Hartford works for some, but not for all. So my suggestion would be to begin the process by creating a council committee or even a task force to identify economically viable opportunities. Let's deal with the mental health and wellness issues. Let's identify educational opportunities and the skills that are needed for employment and even entrepreneurial opportunities, including, I understand there's universal basic income, which I'm not really familiar about, but I'd like to certainly learn more about. That should be on the table, but I think we have to emphasize solutions and action. We can't police our way out of this. We can't continue to talk about how bad things are. We have to move forward. We have to act. So I say, you know, tap the people of this city. You've got some good brains here. Let's use them. Let's work with the community partners because they deal with the issues on a day-to-day basis. And so that is my comment. Again, extending sympathies to the families who lost loved ones this weekend. And hopefully we can get things moving here and work and pull people together. We've got to pull together on this to make this work. So thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to address you.
Thank you, Ms. Renaud, for your comments. Next is Leslie Hammond. Leslie Hammond?
Hi, Leslie Hammond, 1 Linden Place. I think you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
So thank you for showing up tonight. It means a lot to us. I also, of course, have been thinking about the 2 children, Rondell Jones and Jamari Preston. And thanks to Facebook, I connected with Samari, the mother of the 3-year-old, and she messaged me and I went to go see her, and it was just an honor. You know, the hardest thing with grieving is you're just so out of it, but for people that can support somebody that's grieving, it's just an amazing spiritual time, as hard as it is. At least that's been my experience. So the thing is, she is feisty as heck, and she is definitely going to be a spokeswoman. And I was thinking, I'm sure this has been said before when other children have been killed, that this is a turning point, but perhaps it is. A 3-year-old, I think, you know, has really gotten our attention. And I know she's thankfully been able to raise a lot of money, but incredible gratitude, focus. You know, it was, she has 2 girls, and this was a boy, the youngest, and she had waited a long time to have a boy. Very emotional. So anyway, I want to support her the best I can. But with you all, with budget time coming up, I really agree with Vicki about, you know, whether it's a task force or what it is, what can we do with our money that's really going to help, particularly our youth. I mean, if you have an angry youth, of course he's responsible for shooting that gun, but come on, I mean, that is incredible anger and just lost, so lost. And whether we need more mentoring, mental health certainly is really lacking, recreation, getting kids out of the city. I see that there's some things going on this summer. I'm a little concerned because it's using the MyRec platform, and all I hear about is we have problems with MyRec. So I hope that that's been worked out. You know, jobs, I mean, the basic income's a good idea, but self-esteem comes from working, from having a job that you feel proud of. And there's so much talk about second chance, but I still feel there's too many people that can't get jobs because of their record. So I think we just have to face the truth. And the truth is people are suffering. I'm wondering if every family now that's struggling has somebody in their family that died or got harmed by gun violence. I mean, that, you know, is so upsetting. And as some of you know, I worked in Stowe Village in 1990, and it feels the same. That's 31 years of the same. And you know that. Some of you that are older, you know what I'm talking about. So, and then I was thinking about the police, that people aren't going to maybe call the police like what happened to the young man on Gilman Street, because he was killed because his family called the police. So, you know, and, you know, I just feel that Dodie is not the right police chief for our city. I really feel that strongly.
Ms. Hammond, thank you for your comments. Your 3 minutes are up, and I'm trying to be fair to everyone who's speaking tonight. Thank you. Next to speak is Ellen Masali. Ellen Masali. Let's see if she's with us. Okay, we'll come back to her. Bill Katz.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. I wasn't expecting to talk tonight. Somebody mentioned this public meeting, but it just so happened that I was finishing a 4-page letter that I sent to each of you and the mayor, detailing how I think improvements can be made in Hartford. I'm of the opinion that Hartford is crumbling around us, and time has run out, and we have to begin taking control of things. Anywhere from as benign a problem as parking on lawns to more severe things of driving recklessly through stop signs and stoplights. That's incredible. I mean, it happens anytime I drive out of my home office anywhere in Hartford. I see it. Graffitied stop signs, non-existent street signs. Litter is so out of control. It makes Hartford from one end to the other just a cross city slum. I have ideas on how to try to change the mindset, and I've hoped that you at least give the letter a cursory search. Fireworks are coming up on July 4th. You know, it's gotten so out of hand. These are not firecrackers and cherry bombs. These are incendiary devices that explode up in the skies, and that has to end. And it might be more of a state, might be even federal, but we have to start looking at that. I know counterintuitive, there's a proposed downtown bike lane. I'm very much against it, because even though that bike lane is going to protect the rider, I want to know, how are bike riders going to get there? They're going to have to drive through our very dangerous streets to get there. Do we want to be privy to another person being decapitated like that young man was last summer on Weathersfield Avenue as he drove home from his job at Black Eyed Sally's? It's dangerous. The shooting deaths, it's out of control. I don't know. I assume that many of these shootings are the result of drug deals. I have been a long proponent of decriminalizing heroin and making it available to drug addicts, because most drug addicts go through life, they go through their programs and they come out and they go back on drugs. So let them have heroin legally, and maybe it'll disincentivize the drug gangs that are shooting each other and shooting residents. Again, I don't have proof. I don't have any documentation to back that up, but I have a sense that many of these shootings are the result of money owed drug dealers. Anywhere is home ownership. People have to be educated on how to keep their homes up. First-time homeowners move in, they don't touch their homes for years, and degradation sets in. I do a major
Mr.
home.
Katz?
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Yes, your 3 minutes are up. Council most certainly get back to you on your email, but I'm trying to be respectful to everyone and give them their 3 minutes.
Thank you.
So thank you for your comments. Miss Ellen, you have the floor.
Thank you. I apologize. I was just having some difficulty unmuting. Thanks. So I appreciate you having me here this evening to address you. I'm hoping to talk to you this evening to urge the approval of the spending of the $100,000 from the 2021 city budget to support members of the Hartford community who find themselves in deportation proceedings and in need of representation. I do not live in Hartford. I practice as an immigration attorney at New Haven Legal Assistance. The address is 205 Orange Street in New Haven. But I have 10 years practicing in immigration law at many different nonprofits throughout the state. I've represented many Hartford residents in removal proceedings. And through our partnership at New Haven Legal with Hartford Deportation Defense and Make the Road Connecticut, the organization where I work, we are hoping to expand the reach of our services to more Hartford residents than we are currently able to serve. And we believe this funding is going to allow our organization to do that and for more Hartford residents to be represented in removal proceedings. Over the past year, my colleagues and I have represented a lot of Hartford residents who were detained in ICE custody at the Bristol House of Corrections in Massachusetts. Thankfully, through the incredible advocacy of my colleagues, many of those individuals were allowed to return home to Hartford to be with their families, but they need continued representation in removal proceedings, as do many Hartford residents who've never had the experience of immigration detention. We are a small state, but there is a great need for zealous advocacy for our undocumented brothers and sisters. This funding is a huge step in the right direction that will allow Hartford residents to face their immigration charges with an advocate by their side. So I just really urge you to approve that funding, to allow us to represent more Hartford residents in these proceedings that are often, many times matters of life and death, and these people really should have good representation. And I just thank you for allowing me to testify this evening, and I'm happy to address any questions anyone may have.
I believe there are no questions from our council colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next to speak is Diamond Wallen. Diamond Wallen.
Hi. Oh, wow. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I wasn't even expecting to speak tonight, like everyone else said, but my mom told me about this opportunity and I thought it wasn't a good way to voice my opinion. I am nervous too and scared for summer 2021 after coming out of pandemic. Well, not coming out, but, having a little bit more freedom now since last year. We have youth and adults that have given up a lot and has given up on life itself, which creates a lot of at-risk behavior, youth and young adults that are hungry and would do anything to get it. Our system has failed them in a way when they're now starting to take matters in their own hands. And instead of addressing the issues, we're creating opportunities. And instead of addressing those issues and creating opportunities, we're adding more police, which is already causing more of a divide. But I'm not really here to speak on that. I'm here to speak on the educational school systems and the struggles that our students and families are faced with. I work with the vulnerable population who have become even more vulnerable since the pandemic have started. Their family structures have changed. The amount of uncontrollable stress can be disappointing for both parents and students. Our students come to school disengaged, poor attendance, and lack motivation. We have some students who picked up financial burdens, siblings, and household responsibilities, making it harder to connect them back with the schools. There's an increase of pressure on the students. They come to school more stressed out than ever, insecure and more insecure than normal. They are struggling with mental health and they feel unheard. I do a lot in the school to improve attendance, student engagement, and informal mediations based on my background in social work to help restore optimism. But what can we do statewide to reconnect students in the school? Stipends for high school students who have taken care of loved ones who feel like they need to work now. Immediate needs for students who are struggling with food, hygiene products, supplies, school supplies, clothing. How do we relate information to students on different services that the community has to offer that they do not hear about, but we're funding? How do we keep these students safe over the summertime? How do we bring more roses in the concrete to help expand the students' horizon and that there's more to the world that has to offer outside of Hartford? How do we level the playing field between suburban and urban? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wallen. That concludes our public comment for this evening. Please join us at 7 p.m. for our regularly scheduled council meeting. Thank you, everyone.